Today we are going to learn about Indian climate. This is personally my favorite chapter because it is very logical to understand, and this will be your third chapter. So, what do we learn in Indian climate? We initially learn about what exactly is climate and what is India's climate. Okay. So before we learn about that, we need to know a very important difference between weather and climate. So what is weather and what is climate? I've written here. So weather refers to the state of the atmosphere over an area at any point of time. Okay. So that means right now if I go outside, I'll check the atmosphere. It's sunny today. So it's sunny weather. Or it's cloudy today. So it's cloudy weather. Okay. So over an area, so a small area, and at any point of time. But climate refers to the sum total of the weather conditions and variations over a large area for a long period of time. A large area, long period of time. So that means a long period of time, as in a couple of months, okay, 3 to 4 months, and a large area, so not just this locality, but large areas in South India, North India, okay. So if you take a large area and over a long period of time, we get climate. So we cannot say Indian weather, we can say Indian climate. Alright. So next topic is what is India's climate, right? So Indian climate has been defined as tropical monsoon. It's very important. Tropical monsoon. Now, why do we call it tropical monsoon? Tropical because major part of India, right, lies in the tropical zone. You know that the earth is divided into 3 zones, okay? This is the equator, this is the tropical zone, this is the temperate zone, and this is the Arctic zone. Alright, so since we are placed in the tropical zone, we use this word in our climate, and monsoon because our country's climate is greatly influenced by the monsoon winds. I will tell more about that in the next coming topics. Alright, so you need to know that our Indian climate is tropical monsoon. Now monsoon, we've gotten this word from the Arabic word Monsoon. Monsoon. That means seasons. Now we're going to learn about factors influencing our climate. Okay. Now in your textbook you have 4 different points. I will explain a little bit in detail about them. So first one is location, then water bodies, relief features, and the monsoon winds. Okay. Now location, depending on where we are located, okay, on India, our climate is dependent on that. Now how can we measure like where are we located? By taking these 2 into consideration. One is the latitude and one is the altitude. Now latitude, I explained this in the first chapter, correct? Remember latitude? This is the earth, there are horizontal lines, imaginary horizontal lines, correct? And this is latitude. Now this is the equator. Now the equator receives most of the sun rays, okay, maximum sun rays. So it's hot over here. Now as you move away from the equator towards the poles, the north and the south pole, the temperature gradually decreases, okay, it gradually decreases. So that is how latitude plays an effect on climate. Now let's learn how altitude plays an effect on climate and what exactly is altitude. Now altitude refers to the height, okay, the height of the location from sea level. How high is it? Now depending on how high you are situated, the temperature will vary. As you go up and up from the sea level, temperature slowly starts decreasing, okay, because the atmosphere over there, the air over there is lighter. Alright, so the temperature decreases as you go up and the temperature increases as you go down. You need to remember that. So that's how altitude plays an effect on climate. Now next we have water bodies. When we talk about water bodies, we are actually talking about the distance from it, the distance from the water bodies. So let's say India, and we are somewhere here. Now we check how far are we from the nearest water bodies and how that affects us. Okay. Now the closer we are to the water body, correct? Now if we are somewhere on the coast, and if we are somewhere in very close, very inside the land, which is not close to water, let's take two different positions, A and B. Okay. Now if we're very close to the water body, then we have a moderate climate. What does that mean? Moderate, as in not too hot, not too cold. It's somewhere in between. It's never too hot or too cold. Okay, that's because the sea, right? The water body, the sea moderates the climate. It never lets the climate be extreme. That's because of something called the land breeze and the sea breeze. I'll talk about that sometime later. But you need to know that if you're close to the water body, then your climate is moderate. And if you're far away from the water body, then your climate is extreme. You have either too hot summers, too cold winters. Alright? Now when we talk about relief features, what is relief features? It's mostly mountains and the like, okay? Because relief means topology. Now how does relief features affect our climate? Now let's say we have a mountain, then obviously it blocks some cold or hot winds from entering. If this is where we are situated, then it blocks cold or hot winds. Or if it lies in the path, right? If it's a high mountain and it lies in the path of rain-bearing winds, then it causes precipitation. Precipitation means rainfall. So, il clouds bartide ankolona, full heavy moisture itkondo, moisture itkondo. So, if it comes and hits this mountain, then it's going to cause rainfall. So, and leeward side, the side where clouds come and hit it, that is called the windward side, and the other side is called the leeward side. Okay, so the leeward side of the mountain usually does not get rainfall because all the clouds hit here and rain is illa. So that is how relief features affect the climate. And about monsoon winds, how this affects our climate, we're going to learn in the coming topics. Now your next topic is climatic seasons. So according to the Meteorological Department of India, okay, the tropical monsoon type of climate is characterized by distinct seasonal patterns. What does that mean? That means that how can we define the tropical monsoon type of climate, right? We can define it in the basis of these seasons. So 4 distinct seasons. So this pattern of this repetition, right? The seasons keep repeating. So that repetitive pattern is what we call as the tropical monsoon period. Okay, the tropical monsoon climate. Now what are those seasons? Now we have the winter season, the beginning, winter season from December to Feb. Summer season from March to May. So summer holidays, school ali ee time ge sigadalva. March, April, May. March end exams mugeta, and then you have summer holidays. So then you have the rainy season as soon as you start going to school. So from June to mid-September, and then the retreating monsoon season from mid-September to November. Now let's delve into your seasons, okay? But before that, I want to tell you that this is a very rough map of India, just for the purpose of explanation of seasons, okay? And before we actually begin with the winter season, I want to tell you a few basics that you need to know to understand how climate works, how seasons work. So there are two things. One is the apparent movement of the sun and how it causes convection currents. So this is too many technical terms, tumba dod pada, but don't worry about it. It's very simple, okay? So you people know that the earth moves around the sun, right? It rotates and it revolves around the sun. So 1 year time ali it will go one purti circle around the sun and come back. When that happens, okay, what we can say is that for some part of the time the sun will be closer to the northern hemisphere. Now we know that India is in the northern hemisphere, correct? India is in the northern hemisphere. Now as the earth keeps revolving around the sun, sometimes the northern hemisphere will be closer to the sun. So sun illirutte. And as we move, sun doesn't move, but you need to understand that sometimes sun will be closer to the southern hemisphere, okay, and then again sun moves back. So this is called the apparent movement of the sun. Sun doesn't actually move, but as we are moving around the sun, we experience this. We feel that sun is closer to the northern hemisphere and the more heat is in the northern hemisphere, and then it slowly moves to the southern hemisphere. So you need to understand this is called the apparent movement of the sun. Okay. Now when this happens, it causes something called convectional currents. Conduction, convection, radiation, heat chapter al kalitira if this is in physics. But let me tell you in simple terms what that means. So now let's assume that sun illide. Let's remove sun illi. Let's assume sun is in the southern hemisphere. Now what exactly happens, Andren? It heats up the southern hemisphere, correct? More than it heats up northern hemisphere. So direct rays of the sun will be to here and slant rays will be to northern hemisphere. Slant rays. So slant iradrinda, this will receive less heat and this will receive more heat. Okay. So since this receives more heat, the air in the southern hemisphere becomes lighter. So when you heat something, it becomes lighter and it moves up. It moves up. Okay. The air becomes lighter and moves up. And as it moves up, vacuum is created. Alva. Ivaga naan illidini. Ivaga naan illinda mele hodre nan jaga vacuum khali agutte and air will fill my space, correct? Now let's say I'm moving from here to here. Now since I moved, my space that I was occupying previously is covered by air. So similarly, illi air moves up, and as air moves up, the other air, colder air will come and occupy its space. So that's why we have winds. Understood? Now let's recap this movement of air one more time. But to understand better, let me use the example that Aparna used in electricity chapter. So remember she said that there's water in a pipe and if it's horizontal then it doesn't move at all. It just stays there. Alva? But if you tilt the pipe from, let's say you tilt the pipe, then the water flows down because gravity pulls it. Because there is a pressure difference between point A and B. So whenever something has to flow, there needs to be a pressure difference. There has to be a pressure difference. So remember she said for current, you need to create a potential difference between point A and point B if you want current to flow. Similarly, there has to be an air pressure difference. Illu pressure difference, but air pressure difference in order for the air to move from point A to point B. Now, how do we, what creates this pressure difference is the sun, the heating effect of the sun. So, sun will heat up a particular area, okay, the air, and the air moves up. So, there is vacuum created. So, that is called low pressure area, okay. So, the other side where there is cold winds and, sun's rays are oblique and altumba heat illa, it's cold, it's cool, it's cold. So, that air wants to take this place, wants to move here. The cold air wants to move towards hot air. Okay, so that you need to know. So there is the pressure difference that is created. So high pressure winds, they blow towards low pressure area. Okay, so this is the entire, if this concept you understand, then Indian climate you understand. Another important basic thing that you need to know is something called Coriolis effect. But let's not worry about the name Coriolis, that's not important. We need to know what this effect is. So here is the equator. So here is the southern hemisphere, here is the northern hemisphere. So the effect is, if the wind, correct, is blowing in the idya direction, idu west alva. So west blow agtidre, northern, when it passes the equator, it blows like this towards the east. Aita? Ade ee kade, if it's blowing towards the east, then as the winds pass through the equator, it moves ulta, it moves towards the west. So east winds become west winds become east winds. Okay, so now let's delve into our first season, which is the winter season. Okay, now it's from December to February. Now December and January are both cold months, but January is the coldest month. Okay, now for the purpose of understanding why exactly it is winter, why it is cold and dry, let's see. In Australia draw ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ because to know that this is the southern hemisphere, this is the northern hemisphere. So during this period, okay, the sun is over here. The sun is in the southern hemisphere. So what happens? A low pressure area is created here over the Indian Ocean, and there is a high pressure region, feeble, small high pressure created over the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so what did I tell you? Winds from high pressure always blow towards low pressure. So these winds, okay, blow from land to sea. So they are cold and dry. So the Himalayan mountains are here. So the cold winds from there, they start blowing like this. And as they pass the equator, they shift direction and blow like this and fill up this low pressure area. Okay, so let's discuss about here. What happens? So throughout the winter season, these winds blow and they prevail all over the country, which is why India has cold and dry climate. So how exactly are the weather conditions and the day-to-day atmospheric conditions? Sun illiradrinda we get slant rays of the sun, or it's also called oblique rays of the sun. So that means the temperature is less and humidity is less. Humidity andre air aliro water content, that is also less, and the sky is clear. Okay, so that's what happens. Let's look at some temperatures. So actually Tropic of Cancer kinta meledala, so the landlocked place, now that is comparatively cooler than the peninsula, because peninsula has water. So because of the moderating effect of the sea, we don't really have a well-defined winter season in the south. Okay, let's say in Bangalore, temperature may go up to 20-22 degrees. Okay, and Chennai, it may be 24 to 25, 23 to 24 degrees centigrade. But in the northern plains, the temperature range from 10 to 15 degrees centigrade. Okay, but in the Himalayas, because of the altitude, remember I told you the height from the sea level is too high, correct? So there it will be very cold. It will probably be like 4 degrees centigrade, and heavy snowfall will occur during the winter season. And India gets about 2% of its annual rainfall. So year round, whatever rainfall we get, other 2% we get in the winter season. Now let's talk about your summer season, which is from March to May. Okay, so how do we characterize this season? What happens exactly is the sun. I found a prop for sun. Now as you can see, the sun starts moving slowly from the southern hemisphere. It moves slowly to the northern hemisphere. Okay, and this process, the time period, right, it takes from March to May roughly, the time to move from here to here. So what happens that time? The low pressure belt idala, the heat, the low pressure belt slowly starts moving upwards as well. So here low pressure starts moving up, and here high pressure starts getting generated. Now, as the low pressure belt moves up, correct, it starts becoming really hot and really dry all around India, okay? And the highest temperature recorded was 49.4 somewhere here in Ganganagar in Rajasthan. Alright, so another thing that happens is there'll be localized, very local thunderstorms that occur in the summer season, and they are called Kala Bhaisakis. Kala Bhaisakis in West Bengal, and in over here for Kerala we get something called the mango showers, and for Karnataka we have coffee blossom. So that there are initial showers which are very important for mangoes in Kerala and coffee to blossom in Karnataka. And India receives about 10% of its annual rainfall in the summer season. Now let's talk about the rainy season, okay, which is from June to mid-September. Now the previous season was summer, correct? Now that time the sun was just moving to the northern hemisphere. Now during June to mid-September it's going to stay here. The sun is going to stay here, okay? So when that happens, the low pressure area gets intensified. The low pressure gets intensified in the northern plain region, okay? Now that low pressure, what it's going to do, it is going to attract the cold winds in the southern hemisphere, okay? Now, so there is low pressure here, high pressure here, correct? So you need to know that I told you, right, this is south, right? This is south and this is east, this is west. So whatever winds are over here, the southeast winds, they're called the southeast trade winds. Now they are very cool, right? Now they start moving. Now they're getting attracted. They want to go towards this low pressure. So now they're going to start moving, okay? It's going to start moving and they're going to pick up moisture from the ocean. They're going to pick up lots of moisture, so full thick cloud, bearing winds. Now they're going to move, and as they pass the equator, like I told you, it's going to change direction and start moving in the westerly fashion. So now they hit the Indian subcontinent as they enter the Indian subcontinent as the southwest monsoon. Now these moisture bearing winds, correct? Now first what they do is they hit the Western Ghats, correct? Western Ghats here, they hit it. Now these are very strong winds, okay? They are blowing at an average velocity of 30 km/h. So you need to know that it's very, very strong winds. So when they hit the Western Ghats, because they're pretty tall, now they're going to split. This monsoon is going to split into two branches. One is the Arabian Sea branch, one is the Bay of Bengal branch, BBB. Okay. Now in about 30 days, because of the speed that it is flowing in, is going to cover almost entirely the Indian subcontinent, okay, except a few parts in the west here, okay. Now it's going to cover everything. Now as soon as these monsoon winds start blowing over India, there's a total change of weather, okay? So this Arabian Sea branch, right, it hits the Western Ghats and brings heavy rainfall to the western coastal plains and parts of Deccan Plateau and over here, alright? But the Bay of Bengal branch, it travels straight. It doesn't get opposed by anything, it's not restricted by anything, it flows straight and hits Meghalaya and Assam and brings heavy rainfall over there, especially in Monsoon, which receives the highest rainfall. Okay, Monsoon. And the Aravalli range is over here, correct? The Aravalli mountains. So since Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat lie in the leeward side, now this is the windward side, wherever the winds are blowing. So since Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat lie in the leeward side of the Aravalli mountain range, they don't get a lot of rainfall. Yakede illi mountains ive, alli winds hodadbiಟ್ಟು clouds alli rain banbidutte, ikade rain barutte, but not that side. Understood? So India receives about 75% of the annual rainfall in the rainy season. Okay. But sometimes what happens is this monsoon is very uncertain. So when you expect it to come at this particular time, it might come a week late or stuff like that. But there's many farmers in India who depend on monsoon for their agriculture. So it's very, very important, this southwest monsoon. Now the last season is the retreating monsoon season, which is from mid-September to November. Now we learned the last season was monsoon season, wherein the sun was on top here, correct, in the northern hemisphere. Now from mid-September, what is going to happen? The sun is slowly going to, the apparent movement will begin and it's slowly going to start moving south. Okay, and then it will go to southern hemisphere by November. Alright, so this apparent movement of the sun, so with that, the low pressure also moves downwards, correct? Wherever the sun is, low pressure is over there. So the low pressure starts moving down and high pressure starts developing here. Okay, and as high pressure starts developing here, the southwest monsoon, those winds, they start losing their power and they start to go back. They start to withdraw. Okay, they start to go back. So now the low pressure has moved down, correct? Since the sun has moved down, low pressure has been created in the Bay of Bengal region, and slowly high pressure has developed over here in the northern plains. So as the monsoon retreats, it will come back like this in the northeast, right? From northeast. So from northeast, it's going to start blowing down. So that's why this retreating monsoon season is also called the northeast monsoon season. Now as it blows back, right, only to Tamil Nadu. So it's not just Tamil Nadu, it's also the coast of Andhra Pradesh and Orissa, which also get rainfall due to this particular retreating monsoon because it blows over sea, correct? But sometimes this rainfall due to cyclones in the Bay of Bengal get very devastating and they damage the crops. So the period between October to November is like a transition period from that rainy season, the hot rainy season, to the winter season, which comes after this. Alright, so it's very oppressive. There will be heat in the day and the nights will be cold, so it will be like that. And so that's like a transition period. Okay, that time it's called October heat because in the the evaporation will keep happening and the days will be really, really hot. So these winds, right, they blow like this and they try to move towards the low pressure in the Bay of Bengal region and the low pressure that is generated in the southern hemisphere, correct? So after this, the sun would have moved. By November, the sun would have moved to the southern hemisphere. So after that, it will be winter season for us, correct? And the cycle repeats, the season cycle repeats. Alright, so the next topic is distribution of rainfall. So on the basis of the amount of rainfall, in India, we can divide it into three parts. So the areas with low rainfall, medium rainfall and heavy rainfall. Low rainfall, which is less than 50 centimeters, is experienced in rain shadow regions. Okay, so that's the leeward side of mountains. So one is here, the rain shadow on the leeward side of the Western Ghats receive low rainfall. And here Aravalli range is there, correct? So the rain shadow area or the leeward side of that, which includes Western Kutch, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, all of these also receive low rainfall. And there is the Zaskar range anta illi top ali. So the rain shadow area of that also receives low rainfall. And the place in India which receives the least amount of rainfall is Rajasthan. Ruili in Jaisalmer. So Rajasthan is the driest place of India. Medium rainfall, which is 50 to 100 centimeters, is a long belt extending from northern Punjab, okay, from here to the Cape of Kanyakumari, and it's broad in the north and becomes narrower in the peninsular India, okay, between the western and the eastern Ghats. Now the areas with heavy rainfall, which is 100 to 250 centimeters, can be separated into 4 separate belts, okay. So one is the narrow belt in the western Ghats. So this side of the western Ghats get heavy rainfall due to the incoming southwest monsoon, and also the west coast and the western side of the western Ghats, that also gets a lot of rainfall. And one more belt is from the Jammu hills through Himachal, okay, and northern UP, Bihar and West Bengal. So this belt, because the Himalayas are here, when the monsoon hits, so the rainfall will be throughout this belt. And another belt with heavy rainfall is because of the Bay of Bengal branch of the southwest monsoon, which goes and hits the northeast, right? So northeastern India, Monsoon gets heaviest rainfall, okay. So that is all about distribution of rainfall.